an introduction of themselves. So we'll start with you here.
My name is Brian Bruijn, and I am the co-captain of Orly with my daughter.
My name is Rivka Brown, and I'm the driver of Orly.
Woo!
My name is Craig Danby. I'm the, captain of Slammo. It's difficult to call yourself captain when you're the only person on the team, but I guess.
Hey there, Dan Mauldin, part of Team Toad, filling in currently for Fuzzy Mauldin.
I'll tell you what, folks, you don't want to miss this. You want to come over here? There are real live Battlebots captains talking about their robots. Come on down to the bleachers by the stage. My name is Mason. I run Mad Cat. Oh, wait a minute. We went to anger management there. It's not Mad Catter. It's Happy Catter. I got to remember the rules. All right. But, folks, you're not going to want to miss this. We're going to tell you all about doing BattleBots, what it's like out there, and we're going to answer your questions. As long as they're family friendly. It's a family friendly event, folks, so keep it there. David, you got anything to start us off with?
Yeah. Let's start with, when did you first get engaged in doing BattleBots? Like, when was the first time you started it, and then what was your motivation?
Oh, okay. Martin has declared that I am starting. So I was 12 years old in England. Obviously, I'm English, as you can probably tell. I was in an engineering club at school, and we got invited to be on the very first TV show, which was Robot Wars. My school decided they didn't want to do it, but I'd spent all summer building a robot, and I was obsessed. And 25 years later, I'm still obsessed, and it's got a lot more expensive.
Oh goodness. Well, I started building bots with my dad. I think it was back in 2001 is when I first competed in BattleBots, but I spent a lot of time building things as a kid, always taking things apart, building things. Legos were a great help, but he saw BattleBots on TV, said, oh boy, that looks fun, we could do that. And so we did. And this many years later, we're still doing it. Really thankful to be here, so.
I'll tell you, folks, I'll tell you how I got started. You know what? There's some people that just jump right into the deep end building BattleBots, but I started a lot smaller. I started out building 1 pound ant weight robots, and kind of developing skills, developing fabrication techniques, looking at best practices. Then 3 pounds, then 12 pounds, then 30 pounds, 60 pounds, 120 pounds, 220 pounds, 242 pounds, and finally 250 pounds.
I was around 5 or 6, maybe 7, when we were flipping channels, and I saw Megatento fighting on BattleBots, and I wanted to watch it because it was a ladybug, and I saw Lisa Winter driving it, and I said, girls can do this too? And then when I was around 8, I got a Viper kit for my birthday, and I built that. It was 1 pound flipper robot, and it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, so that's kind of the quick story of it. That was the quick story. So, yeah, we were flipping channels. She loses it when she sees the ladybug robot, which is kind of like what we have now with the turtle. That's the whole reason we even built the turtle robot. It was just kind of that deal. But she got obsessed with it. I had no clue what I was doing. I'm a psychologist by training. I have no electrical engineering, no mechanical engineering. I had to buy power tools to help support this little one in doing what she does. And so inside of all of that, we ended up going, okay, so we're gonna start small. I blew up a lot of electronics, but I started when she started with 150 gram, worked our way up to 1 pound, 3 pound. And then we heard somebody on radio, a podcast for Behind the Bots, say, just, if you wanna build a robot, do it. And so I thought, well, wanna do Megatento, And that's where Orly came from. We decided to do Orly, and the first one was really bad. And this one won one fight, so we're happy about that, you know?
Awesome. So when did you guys first appear on BattleBots? Like, and how many times have you appeared on BattleBots since it's been around?
No answer.
The reboot of BattleBots 2018, I was technically there for season 5. As in I was in the pits, I don't think I made it onto TV. But I did Robot Wars in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. And then in 2016, 17, and 18 of Robot Wars, and then I'm over to BattleBots where I graduated.
Oh, goodness. Well, my father's been in multiple seasons of BattleBots. I, unfortunately, at the time, was not good enough to be on TV myself. I did win one fight, though. 2001, I was on season 2, I believe. But that's good enough for me.
So I'll tell you what, folks, let's see, starting out, BattleBots went from Comedy Central, where he was on, to ABC. So I was on ABC season 2 with a robot called Bad Kitty. And honestly, my daughter at that time was driving, it was about Rivka's age, she was driving a little mini bot. I think it was called Little Kitty. Could have been anything though, some kitty. So we had a great time doing that season 2, and then we've been doing it ever since season 2 ABC, and then it's been on the Discovery Channel. And folks, if you haven't seen it, Discovery Channel, we're going to be on again this summer. We're doing a show called Champions League or something like that. Anyway, it'll be on Thursday nights at 8 on the Discovery Channel, starting August 4th. And you know what? We were going to be on the premiere episode, but they decided it was so good they had to save it for later. So you know, they've got some filler episodes first. So again, I've been doing this since ABC and then all through the Discovery season. And you know what? This is not just something that happens in the United States. As Craig was saying, this is incredibly popular in the UK with Robot Wars, and at some level, Robot Wars, some would argue was first. Maybe most would argue was first. And then in China, I have 100 million followers at one point on my, whatever the Chinese equivalent of Instagram is. I don't even, we something or other. WeChat maybe? Okay. And I don't manage that. But there's been 3 shows in China. King of Bots 1. This is Fighting Robots. King of Bots 2. I've gotten to do 2 of those. So this is something that happens everywhere. This is an international sport. There's events in India, China, Brazil, Russia, Estonia. Anybody going to Estonia? They say no, it's too close to Russia right now. All right. So at this point, folks, do you want to open it up to the crowd, David?
Oh no, just gonna say we haven't been on yet. So it's the dream, but you know, you gotta do some work to get there.
Yeah, we definitely want to open up to the crowd. So if anyone has any burning questions you want to ask bot builders, these are the real guys, the real deal. Come on up and I'll get you your question. You have a question? No? You know what BattleBots are, right? You didn't see them? Oh, we've been fighting all weekend here. We'll get you to see some of the BattleBots. They're on the TV there. Anyone have any questions for the BattleBot builders? You, sir? No? Really? There's no one that has a question for the bot builders. Do you have a question? Come on up. Yeah, come on. What's the question?
What's the best weapon for a BattleBot these days? Is it a Hypno Disc or is it the Flipper these days?
All right.
Or is the bot I remember beat my favorite, which was Hypno Disc, and it basically just flipped it out of the stadium. So I was just wondering which is the best weapon these days.
You know, I think you're going to get 3 answers from 3 different builders, right? And I'm going to say, to me, it's all about kinetic energy, right? Hypno Disc delivered those big hits with that spinning disc, right? But it's a little bit of a rock, paper, scissors also. So you know, there is something you know, those big horizontal spinners, they deliver the kinetic energy. United States, there's a robot called Tombstone, right? Which is the king of kinetic energy. But you know what? We haven't seen a horizontal win in Tombstone won in 16 or 17, right? It's been a number of years since that's been. So what's winning now is everybody's favorite robot, the vertical spinner. So it's about storing as much energy as you can in a big spinning vertical disc, right? So you'll see here today, Mad Catter is a vertical spinner. Now we're running a foam tire, and that's honestly something we do just to preserve the environment here. We don't want to ruin the arena. And Piranha is also a vertical spinner. You know, and so you come to an event like this, and the flippers are kings, right? The ones that can control, grab, and manipulate are going to dominate this event. And you're seeing that in the standings, right? Our top bots are SadBot, which is a lifter flipper robot that's very robust, very well driven. And I think that's another thing, folks. You can have an amazing robot, and if you can't drive it and get it to do 100% of its potential, you're not going to be. There's somebody sitting at this table who has amazing design skills, amazing robots every time, but doesn't maybe win as many matches as he should.
I'm hoping he wasn't referencing me. So, like you were saying, though, to echo what he was saying, it really is a lot like rock, paper, scissors. If you have a spinner, they're going to be beat by something that's a lot more solid, right? If you have all these moving parts, it's more complexity, it's easier to break. So if you have a wedge, if you have, you know, a more solid bot, you can ram them into the wall and use them to break themselves. So there's an art to it.
Vertical spinner, to answer your question. Vertical spinners win everything. If I could get away with building a vertical spinner, I still wouldn't. I've always designed bots that were a bit different. I have Slammo. Slammo is a grab lift robot. I like to be in control of the opponent. Doesn't always work. In fact, given my current fight record, it never works. However, I'm doing quite well here, so that's I'm like second. If I hadn't caught fire yesterday, I'd be first, I think. So we'll see. But yes, vertical spinner, as low to the ground as possible, store as much energy as possible. Apparently, that's the wrong answer.
What'd you do, Danby?
Questions. So some of you guys have questions. Come on down. We're going to give you a mic. David's going to hand it over to you. Come on down. You've got to wonder something about Battlebots. How many of you ever seen the show Battlebots? Raise your hands. Woo! All right.
Yeah.
What's it like driving those big bots with the big weapons and like standing right there and it hits a robot right in front of you?
Oh, I think you just become accustomed to it after a while. You definitely jolt the first time because you're thinking, is it going through the box? I hope not. But after, you know, you get through a few fights like that, I think it just becomes second nature. It's part of the adrenaline rush. It's part of the action. It's a heck of a lot of fun.
Okay. I get what's called box blindness. I don't remember anything that happens in any fight ever. So I think I just focus on what's happening in front of me. The only times I remember stuff is when something has gone really wrong and I know I'm out of the fight. That way I don't need to focus so much. But I fought Tombstone and I fought Minotaur in their other forms. And they are both terrifying. You see them spinning up, you hear them going, you hear it connect with your robot, and you know how much that piece of robot cost when he hits you, and you're like, we're okay, right? We're okay. But they sound like jet engines, and I'm a materials guy, it's what I studied, so everything that you study, it says, oh, you should be okay at this point. You are not. Because all you'll do is shift the energy somewhere else, and the energy will go somewhere else and it will break something else. And basically you're just trying to move their energy further and further away. Hopefully to your wheels, that's the best place for it to go. But it is absolutely terrifying. Honestly, the flippers are the worst because seeing pieces come off your robot, you know that piece is dead. Coming off another piece, okay, that's dead too. But a flipper throwing 250 pounds, 10, 15 feet in the air, and it's coming right towards you. There's an inch of Lexan between you and Hydra. as you know. But that's it doesn't feel like a lot at the moment. So yeah.
So 2 things. One is I have special underwear. Very important. And I have an extra pair of pants too. So it is terrifying, right? And I get what Craig said about you hyper-focus. And I'll say in our team, we actually have 3 people driving the bot. One person is controlling the actual drive, the motion, translationally in the robot. There's somebody running the weapon, and you're just hyper-focused on what is it doing, how fast is it spinning, you know, what's your telemetry telling you, and then we have our lifter is our 3rd system. So there's 3 people, and we have to drive together enough that you kind of get this sympathetic bond that you're not having to yell at each other all the time during the match, because that's distracting because everybody is so focused on what they're doing. But it is really loud, and you know, here we're running Sportsman. It's very mild, it's very calm. You're still hearing big hits on the arena, especially in that last fight between Avalanche and Slammo. That was terrific. But it is, you know, the amount of energy in these things it's like a car crash for 3 minutes.
So all we know is this arena, and it is loud and it's scary. So anything where you're jumping, when you hear a really loud crash, we're doing the same thing on the other side, still trying to pay attention, because for us, this is really, really loud with the big weapons. And they're still battle bots that some of these were facing. They may not have their big kinetic energy weapon, but like it's still the same motors, the same lifter that flipped us over yesterday, or broke our motor. But that's okay, that's what you expect to do. What's it like for you, sweetie?
It is loud.
I think she said that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Anyone else have any questions for the BattleBots teams? You know, and the very interesting thing is it's just as scary at every size level. Me and Ian here, we run a lot of BattleBots competitions here. We run the 150 gram, 1 pound, and 3 pound bots. And the first time we put on a show, I had to be the judge because we were short staffed. And so I'm sitting there, and one of them just slammed against the wall, and like right at me. Like I was like, oh, and I ducked because I thought it was coming at me. But it, you know, good thing we put good safety materials in place to protect us. That's why these are called Sportsmen, because we scale them down so that they're safe to demonstrate and to put on a good show. And these gentlemen and ladies all work hard to give us a good show. Did you have a question?
How much does the gyro effect of the vertical spinners affect the driving? I mean, obviously you can see it. How do you counteract that? How do you practice for that?
So I think that's a question for me. So, you know, it obviously scales up. When we're spinning our biggest weapon, which is about 45 pounds at 6,000 RPM, there's a tremendous amount of gyro there. And one of the things we actually did, if you look at Mad Catter, is with gyro, it's easier to turn one direction than the other, right? So what we did is we actually put the weapon off center. And that's to help make it equally different to turn both directions. And I think, at least at the heavyweight scale, we're the only people that have a off-center vertical disc. And yeah, he says it's ugly. No, it's not. It's a beautiful cat. All cats are beautiful. But you know, it's something we definitely think about. And I'll tell you what, our driver always says, put the lightest weapon on. I can drive better. And our weapon operator always says, put the big one on. We'll hit harder. And it is a constant battle. And you'll see us, depending on who we're fighting, we'll put different weapons on, whether we want better drivability or whether we need to just bring the beef, right, and take them out as quickly as possible. But the other short answer is lots of practice, right? You practice as much as you can, and our driver and all of us compete in the smaller classes where we can get a lot more fights in.
Anyone else got anything to add? Yes?
The good thing about gyro for a control bot is you can make them dance. We call it coining. So if you can get them up off their wheels, it means it's easy. It's basically it's a free attack. So if you can spin around them, get them moving, get them off kilter, gyro effects can actually work against them. But I also tried that once in a lighter weight division, and he ended up on his side spinning around like this, and he hit me in a way I did not think anybody could hit me, and completely killed my robot. So it also is a bit of a pain in the butt. But gyro it's beautiful. You can see somebody like Minotaur actually dance across the arena. Nobody does that better than Daniel. So it takes a lot of energy to be able to do that kind of thing. So there's a lot of energy in the robots. You want to follow up?
I think this brings up kind of the rock paper scissors thing too, right? It's also that with a vertical spinner or a horizontal, one hit and the match is over, right? One hit in the right spot. Whereas a control bot, you actually have to be talented and skilled. And so it really is, you know, it's tremendously difficult to win with those, because you kind of have to take advantage. They have to make a mistake, whereas with a big weapon, you're just kind of have to stay in it long enough. We like all our matches to go about 30 seconds, right? And then there's a big fire, and we do a little driving at the end, and we're done. For your control bots, it's going to go the distance every match, and you can't make a single mistake.
Yeah, like Ian says, you got to design it to kill the opponent, right? Anyone else got any questions for the BattleBots builders?
Oh, we got one more?
All right. Got one more? Okay.
How much on-the-fly diagnostics are you doing? Like, I've noticed some people have like more sensors on their remotes watching. How often is that a thing where you watch for overheating, or how fast, how much to use the weapon versus slow it down, for all that sort of longevity type of stuff?
So I have active telemetry on the robot. So my robot tells me how hot the motors are, how much voltage is left in the batteries, what my current draw is. So if you jam a wheel or slightly jam a wheel, the current draw shoots up and your battery voltage drops and everything gets hotter. What you can do with that is you can change your driving style. You can back off. So if you saw the fight with I had with Fuzzy just before then, I had a battery fire yesterday, so I'm running on half the battery power that I would normally run. And so after about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, my battery voltage, when I rammed into him, was dropping. So there's a big, what we call sag. And the sag was enough for me to go, okay, I need to change tactics. I need to hang back, ram him, push him somewhere, and then hang back and let him get himself righted, go back in to conserve my power, to make that sag kind of last longer, or not last as long, so I can have more of them, so to speak. So I actually just had my active telemetry telling me what I could and couldn't do. So it's becoming more and more vital. In fact, on the show, my wife reads the telemetry off a separate telemetry reader, which goes to her iPad, and she tells me voltage is this. I'm like, okay, back off. Temperature is this on this side. Okay, back off, or go for it. So we have a fight coming up in the Sin City Slugfest Battlebots Champions starting August 4th. We're episode 2, by the way. Just want to throw that out there. In that fight, she told me with like 30 seconds to go, we have full power. Okay, great. So I just went headfirst into who we were fighting, but you'll find out that soon. Martin?
Well, no, I just wanted to add, I think a lot of that depends on, I think, the scale of the robot and the people building it too. Because you got to keep in mind we have everything from beginners to fully advanced diagnostic telemetry and everything in between. So, you know, some people, they're just plugging it in and hoping it works. Some people have, you know, active diagnostics with electronics they can read off of the full team. It really does depend.
And I think we're somewhere in between. And again, this is something that's changed really fast. Just, at the Remars event, we ran telemetry on the weapon, and we mainly were just interested in what our signal integrity was and what the voltage was. So it's simpler, but also since we have 3 people, your whole job is this. And so then it's more useful. If your job is the whole robot, it's cognitive overload, I think, having all this data. And I think Craig talked about having his wife do it and kind of poke him. But, you know, we're moving to that. I wish we'd had telemetry on the drive because one of our battery packs sagged, and that's why, you know, it'd be nice to know that as you were going. But there's always these trade-offs. When you add in more advanced telemetry, you I think lose some of your reliability, right? And this is really about robustness, and a lot of times simplicity equals robustness. The robot Dan's running was built around 2009-ish, and is running all, you know, over a decade-old technology, and it's kicking butt here, right? So, you know, there's nice to haves and there's have to haves. And I think, you know, as the sport keeps advancing, we're all pushing each other to do more.
Yeah, we just learned the word telemetry. I'm like, I gotta ask them some more questions about that, because we are literally plug and play. If it plugs in and the lights come on, that's how we know that the robot's working. And then we go, okay, is it moving forward? Is it moving backwards? Why is that sputtering? Oh, I forgot to tape that. Okay, that needs to be taped down. But that's pretty much the extent of it. Hot glue became our friend. It helps hold things in place to keep them from falling out. Zip ties, you know? If stuff's missing like that, we're like, okay, that's what we need to look at first. But we're literally plug and play. That's how new we are at it.
No, and that, I think that evidences the point I was making. There isn't some hard skill cap that you need to reach to be a competitor in this. You can come in with zip ties and duct tape. You don't need a full team of, you know, scientists to build a telemetry bot. It really just depends.
Follow-up question? Okay. So this is getting to the end of our chat. Any other questions before I shut it up? You got a question?
Just a simple question. You know, each Battlebot is like a very complex machine. How do you make design verification and validation?
Repeat the question for me.
How do you make design verification and validation for the complex design that you have?
How do you validate and verify that the design you have, you know, is going to work?
Oh, well, trial and error. At least for me it is. You know, when I design something, or when I design things in the past, you have a great idea, you think it's going to work. And then you meet somebody who will tear you apart in 1 second and go, maybe that was a bad idea. So you learn from your mistakes, you learn through trying, you build something, you break it, you build something better the next time.
So folks, the secret is this. These robots are 50% hardware, 50% electronics, and 50% testing. I did that right? But
Math is not...
Okay. Oh, 50% lock. Thank you, Craig. But it's this testing component. And testing these things is really challenging because they're freaking dangerous. So, you know, I purchased a set of bomb test panels that were used for detonating ordnance. They're not quite enough for containing this, but we stand behind a bomb test panel that has 1.5 inch thick polycarb backed up in a big steel frame. And anytime we're going to do a test, we roll that out and we stand behind it before we do anything. But the only way to test these things is you spin that weapon up and then you go hit something that weighs a couple 100 pounds and see what breaks. And you know, when we build a chassis, we start out with wooden scale models. We throw them off a building and see where they fail. Then we build the robot. We throw it off the building and see where it fails. You have to test things destructively, but ultimately, coming to events like this is really the only way we can test. And this gives us a chance to test things. You know, we learn a tremendous amount every event because everybody is escalating and getting better and better. And to just keep up, you have to keep improving.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is like, does it run? That's the first thing. We're like, okay, wow, that's a miracle. But then, is it running well? Like, is there balance enough, like on the tires? Are the tires too far back? Are the tires too far forward? You don't know these things unless you have some kind of mechanical engineering background. we had to learn these things the hard way. And so in that process, everything's trial and error. And the more often you can get in an arena, and the more often you get blown up, if you guys want to see what that looks like, we've got a motor that we can display. The more you learn. It's like my next set of skills are going to have to involve welding at some point. I don't like heat. You know, I hate soldering irons, but I have to use them because that's what you have to do. But it's really, really fun to like take an idea that you have in your head and try it out. That's probably the best thing, to see something come alive that's just in your head when you first started.
So I come from a motorsport background, and more specifically Formula One, where testing is specifically limited. So these bots are too dangerous to test. Even Slammo is too dangerous to test. It doesn't have a spinning weapon, but it's too dangerous for me to stand next to it and drive around. So I do a lot of computational testing. So we do stress analysis. There is a limited amount of fluid dynamics, but there is some. There's a lot of mathematics going into it. So a lot of my testing, a lot of my iteration on design comes through computational testing. But what I can tell you is that what the computer says should be okay and what is actually okay are very different things. So I built my own gearbox for my weapon lift system. I did one grab on Orly yesterday and it sheared a titanium drive shaft. And that should have been at least 60% stronger than I needed, and I sheared it. So that sucks, because sometimes the math says one thing, but physics is telling you something else. I think I know why, but that's a different thing. But I do lots of computational stuff. It's my job, so I guess that's where that comes from. But there are a lot of iteration will come from being in an arena, testing what you've actually got. The problem is that there's 2 of these events a year, and there's 1 Battlebots event a year. So you either get it right or you get it wrong. In 2020, I got it right, and in 2021, I got it very wrong. So, yeah, math.
Well, I think that brings us close to the end. So any closing thoughts? So maybe just pass the mic around and just, what closing thoughts for the audience to think about?
So folks, we'd encourage you guys, this is a tremendous amount of fun. It's easy to start if you get a chance. You're watching the big bots today. I started out in the really small bots, building ferry weights, and particularly if you have access to a 3D printer, you can 3D print parts really easily. And I'll say this sport is still really accessible. It's cheaper than running a race car. And it's, again, for me, I worked with my daughter through this from when she was about 8 until she was about 16. And we had really a great time as a family doing this. And now I sort of have my students that I continue to do this with. So again, it's been a wonderful experience for me, and I think everybody could tell their story about how it's been good for them.
Yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun. Like I said, I've been doing this since I was, 8 years old. It's been almost 20 years since then, and I've done everything from small bots to big bots, and I don't think I'm ever going to give it up. I actually live in Pittsburgh. I flew all the way down here just for this. It's a blast.
My advice for anybody that wanted to get started would be to just get started. There's plenty of resources on Facebook, Discord, Reddit, whichever is your personal preference. There's always a little community of us somewhere. But there are kits. You can start with $100 and build a small little robot and get started, or you can take $100,000 and waste it at Battlebots, whichever is your preference and your budget. So if it's something that you want to do, it's extremely accessible. And sometimes you can end up with Orly, sometimes you can end up with Mad Catter. No matter who you turn up with, you can turn up with whatever you want. So it's like First, but with fighting.
He gets all the parts and then we break them.
This is the interesting thing. You do not have to be an engineer or a mathematician or a professor or a scientist to do this. They use the word accessible. That's like so an understatement. The community is incredibly supportive. It's okay to blow things up and to learn. I started building 2 years ago. And we have a 250-pound robot over here. I'm not an engineer. I hate math. I've been asking for someone to help her with her math since we've been here. Okay? But if I can do it, anybody can do it, because the skills can be learned either through the communities, and the community is incredible about answering questions and helping.